While I was dying, my son was celebrating his freedom from me. June 4th, 11:30. Bradley posted wedding photos on Instagram while I lay unconscious in Stanford Medical's ICU. The caption, "New beginnings, finally free." 347 people liked it. 0 people had visited room 247. I'd built a $4.2 million tech company from nothing, sacrificed 23 years, paid for his Harvard MBA, his Tesla, his downtown condo. The ICU nurse showed me his feed when I woke up. She thought she was being kind. "Your son looks so happy," she said, scrolling past photo after photo. Him glowing in his custom tuxedo, her sparkling in diamonds I'd probably paid for. I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't call him. I just smiled and opened my phone's legal app. 7 days in this hospital bed had taught me something valuable. Blood doesn't make you family. Loyalty does. And Bradley had just shown me exactly where his loyalty lay. The pattern had been building for 3 years, but I'd been too busy running my company to see it clearly. Bradley used to visit the office every Friday. We'd grab lunch, talk about the business, plan his future role after graduation. Then Harvard happened. Suddenly, our garage startup wasn't impressive enough. Our Palo Alto headquarters wasn't prestigious enough. I wasn't sophisticated enough. The last time we'd had a real conversation was Christmas 2021. He'd brought his fiancée, Stephanie, to dinner. She'd wrinkled her nose at my leather recliner, the same chair where I'd coded our first product in 1999. "David," she'd said, "you really should hire a decorator. This whole rustic thing doesn't match your success level." Bradley had laughed. Not defended me. Laughed. After that, our relationship became transactional. He'd text about money transfers. I'd wire funds to his account. $23,000 for the engagement ring, $47,000 for the wedding deposit, $15,000 for the honeymoon to Italy. Each request came with less explanation, more expectation. But nothing prepared me for the hospital visitor logs. Patricia Williams, my CFO, had been there every single day. 19 years she'd worked for me, starting as a bookkeeper when her husband left her with twin daughters. She'd arrive at 6 a.m. before her shift, sit beside my bed, and give me business updates, even though I couldn't respond. Maria Santos from Facilities had brought homemade soup in a thermos. 15 years of loyalty, ever since I'd helped her get her green card. She'd hold my hand and pray in Spanish, her calloused fingers warm against my palm. Tommy Anderson, our lead developer, had rearranged his entire schedule. 12 years he'd been with us, building our core platform from the ground up. He'd sit in the corner with his laptop, coding while keeping me company, mumbling about algorithms and debugging like I was awake and listening. The nurses told me later that these 3 had practically lived in the ICU waiting room, taking shifts, coordinating with doctors, making sure someone was always nearby in case I woke up. Meanwhile, Bradley's phone number appeared nowhere in the visitor logs. The hospital's automated system had called him 17 times. Emergency contact protocols. His number was listed first. My son, next of kin, primary inheritor of everything I'd built. 17 calls, 0 responses. On day 3, his assistant had finally returned a call. Not Bradley himself, his assistant. A 22-year-old kid named Ryan who'd been nervous and apologetic. "Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry to bother you during this difficult time, but Bradley asked me to check on the timeline for transition procedures. He's obviously hoping for the best, but the wedding is next week, and there are some financial considerations that need." I'd been unconscious, but the nurses had recorded everything for medical records. Later, when I listened to that recording, I understood exactly what transition procedures meant. Bradley wasn't worried about my recovery. He was worried about access to my assets. The ICU had security cameras. I requested the footage through my lawyer. What I saw made everything crystal clear. Day 4, Patricia Williams arriving with flowers and my favorite coffee. Even though I couldn't drink it, she'd stayed 6 hours, working on her laptop, fielding calls from clients who were worried about me. Day 5, Maria Santos bringing her teenage daughter to meet me, teaching the girl to whisper prayers for my recovery. 3 hours they'd stayed, cleaning my room, organizing my personal items with careful reverence. Day 6, Tommy Anderson setting up his entire mobile office in the corner chair, debugging code while glancing at my monitors every few minutes. He'd even brought a small speaker to play classical music, my favorite composer, Bach, which he'd remembered from casual conversations. And Bradley? The cameras showed nothing. Not one appearance. Not even a drive-by to check if I was still alive. But social media told a different story. While Patricia was holding vigil, Bradley was posting Instagram stories from wedding cake tastings. While Maria was praying for my recovery, he was at bachelor party in Napa Valley. While Tommy was coding beside my bed, Bradley was live streaming his rehearsal dinner. The timeline was damning. Tuesday 2 p.m. I'm intubated, fighting for life. Tuesday 4 p.m. Bradley posts wine country vibes from his bachelor party. Wednesday 6 a.m. Patricia arrives with coffee and business reports. Wednesday 8 a.m. Bradley posts groomsmen bonding photos from golf course. Thursday noon. Maria brings soup and prayers. Thursday 2 p.m. Bradley posts final fitting perfection from his tuxedo appointment. Each post had hundreds of likes. Each one ignored the fact that his father was dying 3 miles away. The breaking point came on day 6. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, my ICU physician, had tried calling Bradley directly. She'd found his number in my emergency contacts and wanted to discuss my prognosis with family. He'd answered on the 3rd ring. "Oh, hi, doctor. Mitchell, right? Look, I'm actually super busy with wedding stuff right now. Can you just email me the important details? I'm sure Dad's in good hands." Dr. Mitchell had explained that I was showing signs of improvement, that I might wake up soon, that family presence could aid recovery. "That's great news," Bradley had said. "Really great. But honestly, I can't put my whole life on hold for this medical drama. He's tough. He'll pull through. He always does." Medical drama. That's what he'd called his father's fight for life. Dr. Mitchell had tried once more. "Mr. Thompson, your father built his company from nothing. The people here tell me he's helped dozens of families, paid for educations, covered medical bills. He seems like a man who values loyalty." "Yeah, well," Bradley had replied, "loyalty doesn't pay for weddings." But what happened next would show him exactly what loyalty was worth. The call came on Thursday, June 6th, at 2:15 p.m. I was awake but hadn't told anyone yet. The nurses thought I was still semi-conscious, drifting in and out. I wanted to observe first, to understand who had really been there for me. My phone was on the bedside table, and when it rang with Bradley's number, I answered without thinking. "Dad?" His voice was bright, cheerful, not the tone of someone calling a hospital room. "Oh, wow, you're actually awake. That's convenient. Convenient. Like my recovery was a minor scheduling improvement. Bradley." My voice was rough from the ventilator, but clear. "Right. So this is probably awkward timing, but Stephanie and I need to talk about some financial stuff. The wedding's in 3 days, and there are some final payments that need to happen." I said nothing, just listened. "The thing is, our wedding planner is being super aggressive about the outstanding balance. $37,000 for catering, $23,000 for flowers, $15,000 for the photographer. She's threatening to cancel everything if we don't pay by tomorrow." Still, I waited. "And honestly, Dad, this whole situation with you being in the hospital, it's created some cash flow issues. I had to use our honeymoon fund to cover other stuff, and now we're kind of stuck." "Other stuff?" I managed. "Well, life expenses, the condo payments, car payments, normal stuff. Plus, Stephanie's been stress shopping because of all this family drama. She bought a $10,000 bracelet yesterday because she was so worried about you." Family drama. That's what my fight for life had become. "Bradley, I've been unconscious for 6 days. I know. And we're all super relieved you're okay. But here's the thing, and this is really awkward to bring up, but our financial advisor mentioned that if something had happened to you, there might be some delays with estate processing. Lawyers, probate court, all that bureaucratic stuff." My heart monitor started beeping faster. A nurse glanced in, but I waved her away. "So, we're kind of in this weird position where we need to know, obviously we're hoping for the best, but realistically speaking, how quickly could we access accounts if if things took a turn? If I died." He was asking how quickly he could access my money if I died. "The wedding planner needs an answer today, Dad. And honestly, Stephanie's parents are flying in from Connecticut tomorrow. Her father's a federal judge, and her mother's on 3 charity boards. If we have to cancel this wedding because of timing issues. Timing issues. Right. I mean, it's nobody's fault, but the optics would be really bad. These people don't understand small business complications. They're used to trust funds and inherited wealth, not startup money that's all tied up in company valuations. I closed my eyes. 23 years of building something from nothing, and he thought it was small business complications. Bradley, have you visited me? Even once? A pause. Dad, look, hospitals aren't really my thing. All those machines and medical smells, it makes me super anxious. Plus, Stephanie's been really emotional about this whole situation, and I needed to be there for her. Your fiancé needed support because I was dying? She's never dealt with family medical stuff before. Her grandparents all died peacefully in their sleep. No drama, no ICU scenes. This whole thing has been really traumatic for her. Traumatic for her? While I'd been unconscious with a breathing tube. So, anyway, about the money situation. Could you maybe call the bank today? Just to make sure there won't be any access issues? The wedding's at Rosewood Sand Hill, and they have a strict payment policy. Rosewood Sand Hill, a 5-star resort where dinner for two cost more than Maria Santos made in a week. Bradley, do you know who's been visiting me? I assumed the nurses were taking good care of you. That's what we pay hospital bills for, right? Patricia Williams has been here every day, for 6 days. Oh, that's nice of her. Maria Santos brought soup. Homemade soup. Cool. Tommy Anderson has been coding beside my bed, keeping me company while I was unconscious. That's sweet, Dad, but can we focus on the financial stuff? I've got a conference call with Stephanie's wedding coordinator in 20 minutes, and I need to give her some concrete answers. The heart monitor was beeping steadily now. My blood pressure was rising, but my voice stayed calm. You want concrete answers? Exactly. Just basic stuff, like, is there a delay if we need to access funds for wedding expenses? Or if something happens and we need to cover ongoing costs? Stephanie's already worried about honeymoon reservations and if there's going to be some legal freeze on accounts. Bradley. Yeah? The people who've been visiting me, taking care of me, sitting beside my bed for 6 days, they're not family. Okay. But they've shown me what family actually looks like. Dad, I don't really have time for philosophical discussions right now. Can you just call the bank? Or give me power of attorney for wedding expenses? Something practical? Something practical. Like 23 years of sacrifice wasn't practical enough. I'll handle it, I said quietly. Great. So the payments will go through today? Oh, they'll go through. Perfect. You're the best, Dad. Stephanie's going to be so relieved. This wedding is going to be absolutely perfect. He hung up without asking about my prognosis. Without asking when I'd be released. Without saying he loved me. I stared at the ceiling for exactly 30 seconds. Then I opened my phone and launched the legal app I'd installed 3 years ago but never used. By tomorrow, Bradley would learn the difference between expectations and reality. I spent the next hour staring at my phone screen, finger hovering over the digital will amendment app. 23 years of building something I thought would last generations, and 7 days to realize I'd been building it for the wrong person. The original will was simple. Everything to Bradley. The company, the house, the investment portfolio, the life insurance. $4.2 million, give or take, depending on market valuations. I'd structured it that way because that's what fathers do. You build something, you pass it down, you hope your child will honor what you've created. But honor requires understanding sacrifice. And Bradley had just proven he understood nothing. I pulled up my company's employee records on my phone. Patricia Williams, Chief Financial Officer. 19 years with us. Started at $38,000 a year as a bookkeeper when her husband abandoned her and their twin daughters. Now she made $120,000, but more importantly, she'd helped grow our revenue from $200,000 to $4.6 million annually. Her contributions were documented. Every quarterly report, every successful client acquisition, every crisis she'd navigated while I was traveling or focused on product development. The numbers didn't lie. Patricia had been responsible for 43% of our company's growth over the past decade. Maria Santos, facilities manager, 15 years. I'd hired her when she barely spoke English, paid for her citizenship classes, helped her daughters get scholarships to community college. She'd prevented $89,000 in theft over the years, by spotting irregularities other managers missed. She'd worked weekends without overtime pay during our crucial growth phases, treating our building like it was her own home. Tommy Anderson, lead developer, 12 years. Brilliant programmer, socially awkward, but absolutely loyal. He'd written the core algorithms that made our platform unique. His code innovations had generated over 1.2 million in additional revenue through efficiency improvements. More importantly, he'd turned down 3 job offers from Google, Amazon, and Facebook because, as he'd told me, you gave me a chance when no one else would. These 3 people had earned their place in my life. They'd shown up when it mattered. They'd built something meaningful alongside me, not just waited to inherit it. Meanwhile, Bradley had contributed exactly $0 to company revenue. His Harvard MBA had cost me $160,000. His living expenses since graduation, another $200,000. His return on investment, negative $460,000 and counting. But the math wasn't what convinced me. It was the visitor logs. I scrolled through hospital security footage on my phone, cross-referencing with visitor badge timestamps. Patricia, 37 hours over 6 days. Maria, 28 hours. Tommy, 22 hours. Combined, they'd spent more time caring about my recovery than Bradley had spent thinking about it. The decision crystallized when I opened Bradley's Instagram again. His latest story, posted 20 minutes ago, showed him at a spa with Stephanie. Pre-wedding relaxation, the caption read. Tomorrow's going to be perfect. Perfect. While I was making the most important decision of my life, he was getting a couples massage. I opened the will amendment app and began typing. First, the company. 49% to be distributed equally among Patricia, Maria, and Tommy, and 16% each with vesting schedules tied to continued employment. They'd become majority owners overnight, but they'd earned it through 15 to 19 years of dedication. The remaining 51% would go into employee profit-sharing trust, distributed annually among all staff based on tenure and performance. No more single owner, no more inherited control. Merit-based ownership, loyalty-based rewards. Second, the house. To Patricia Williams, who'd never owned property despite 19 years of financial success. She'd been renting the same apartment since her divorce, saving every penny for her daughter's educations. My 4-bedroom house in Palo Alto, worth $1.8 million, would finally give her the stability she'd earned. Third, the investment portfolio. $900,000, split equally among Maria and Tommy. Enough for Maria to buy a house near her daughters. Enough for Tommy to start his own company if he wanted, or simply have security for life. Fourth, the life insurance. $2 million to establish a scholarship fund for children of immigrants and single mothers, managed by a board consisting of Patricia, Maria, and Tommy. Bradley could apply like anyone else, but he'd have to demonstrate merit, not inheritance. And Bradley? He'd receive exactly what he'd contributed to the company, $50,000. Enough for a fresh start if he wanted to earn something for once in his life. Not enough to maintain the lifestyle I'd been funding. I spent 45 minutes drafting the amendments, cross-checking legal language, ensuring everything was ironclad. Then I video called my attorney, James Wilson, who I'd worked with for 15 years. David, thank God you're awake. How are you feeling? Clear-headed, James. Clearer than I've been in years. What can I do for you? I need to make some changes to my will. Today, of course. What kind of changes? The kind that can't be reversed. James Wilson arrived at the hospital within 2 hours, carrying his leather briefcase and a notary. 15 years of legal partnership had taught him to respond quickly when I used that particular tone of voice. David, before we begin, I need to ask, are you making these decisions under any medication influence? Any cognitive impairment from the accident? James, I've never been more lucid in my life. Dr. Mitchell confirmed my mental capacity for the record. The notary verified my identity. By 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, June 6th, my new will was legally binding, irrevocable, and filed with the county clerk's office. But the will was just phase 1. Phase 2 required more immediate satisfaction. I called Patricia while James was packing up his documents. She answered on the first ring, as she had every day for 19 years. David, how are you feeling? Better every minute. Patricia, I need you to do something for me tomorrow morning. Anything. Bradley has several corporate credit cards tied to company accounts. Card numbers ending in 4738, 2847, and 9156. I want them canceled at 9 a.m. sharp. A pause. David, are you sure? Those cards have high limits. 47,000 on the first one, 23,000 on the second, 15,000 on the third. Exactly enough to cover his wedding expenses, which he just asked me to fund while I was lying unconscious. Oh. Her voice carried perfect understanding. Consider it done. One more thing. His expense account for personal use? Close it. The one with 12,000 monthly allowance? That's the one. Patricia's satisfaction was audible. I'll handle it first thing in the morning. Friday morning arrived with beautiful timing. Bradley's wedding was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Rosewood Sand Hill. Final vendor payments were due by 10 a.m., according to his own panicked explanation during yesterday's call. At 9:03 a.m., my phone rang. Dad? Dad, there's some kind of problem with the credit cards. I was sitting up in bed, eating real food for the first time in a week. What kind of problem? They're all declining. The catering company, the florist, the photographer, everyone's calling saying payment failed. The wedding coordinator is freaking out. That's strange. Strange? Dad, this is a disaster. The wedding is in 5 hours, and Stephanie's parents are already at the hotel. Her father keeps asking about financial irregularities, and her mother looks like she's about to call the whole thing off. I took a slow sip of coffee. Have you tried calling the bank? I've been on hold for 20 minutes. They keep saying there's some kind of account restructuring in progress, and they can't discuss details with me. Interesting. Interesting. Dad, I need you to call them right now. Use your authorization codes. Tell them this is an emergency. Bradley, I'm still recovering from a major accident. I'm not sure I'm up for financial emergencies today. Financial emergencies? This is my wedding day. And 6 days ago was my potentially dying in the ICU day, but you were busy with bachelor party photos. Silence on the line. Look, Dad, I know I should have visited more, but... More? Bradley, you visited 0 times. I was dealing with wedding stress, and I was dealing with life or death stress. Guess which one Patricia Williams prioritized when she sat beside my bed for 37 hours? Dad, we can discuss family dynamics later. Right now, I need those credit cards working. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, no. Figure it out yourself. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Then again, voicemail. By 10 a.m., I had 7 voicemails from Bradley, each one more desperate than the last. Dad, please, Stephanie's crying. Dad, her parents are talking about leaving. Dad, the vendors are threatening to walk away. Dad, this is humiliating. Dad, I'm begging you. At 10:47 a.m., Patricia called to report Phase 2 results. David, it's done. All corporate cards canceled, expense account closed. I also took the liberty of removing his access to the company building. His key card is deactivated. Thorough as always, Patricia. There's more. I got a call from Rosewood Sand Hills event coordinator. Apparently, they're holding the wedding hostage until someone produces $47,000 in certified funds. Hostage? The flowers are locked in their storage room. The catering staff is on standby. The photographer packed up his equipment. They won't release anything until payment clears. At 11:15 a.m., my phone rang with an unknown number. Mr. Thompson? This is Stephanie Richardson, Bradley's fiancée. Her voice was strained, barely controlled panic. Hello, Stephanie. Sir, I don't know what's happening with the financial situation, but we have 200 guests arriving in 3 hours, and the vendors are demanding immediate payment. That sounds stressful. My father is a federal judge, Mr. Thompson. My mother chairs the Stanford Medical Center Charity Board. This kind of irregularity reflects poorly on both our families. I imagine it does. Bradley mentioned you've been in the hospital. I'm very sorry to hear about your accident, but surely we can resolve this payment issue quickly. Stephanie, did Bradley tell you why I was in the hospital? He said you had some kind of car accident. Did he tell you he never visited? Not once in 6 days? Pause. He said hospitals make him anxious. Did he tell you he spent those 6 days posting party photos on Instagram while I was unconscious? Longer pause. Mr. Thompson, I think there might be some family miscommunication here. No miscommunication, just clear priorities. Bradley's priority was his social media image. Mine is rewarding people who actually care when it matters. Sir, with respect, this is our wedding day. And 6 days ago was my almost dying day. Funny how timing works. At 12:30 p.m., 1 hour and 30 minutes before the ceremony, Bradley called one final time. Dad, I'll do anything. I'll visit you every day. I'll work at the company. I'll apologize publicly. Just please, please fix this. Bradley, the cards aren't broken. They're canceled. Canceled? Permanently, along with your expense account and building access. You can't be serious. Deadly serious, almost literally. Dad, there are 200 people waiting for this wedding. Then you better figure out how to pay for it yourself. With what money? Exactly. I hung up and turned off my phone. At 2 p.m., according to later reports from Patricia, who had friends at Rosewood Sand Hill, Bradley Thompson's wedding was officially canceled due to unforeseen financial complications. The humiliation was public, immediate, and exactly what he'd earned. But this was just the beginning. Bradley arrived at Stanford Medical Center at 4:17 p.m. on Friday, June 7th. The wedding that never happened had ended 3 hours ago, and apparently he'd driven straight from Rosewood Sand Hill to my hospital room. He didn't knock. The door flew open with enough force to rattle the medical equipment. Bradley stood in the doorway wearing his $1,000 tuxedo, bow tie undone, face red with rage and humiliation. What the hell did you do? I was sitting up in bed, reading emails on my phone. Patricia had sent updates about the canceled wedding. Apparently 200 guests had waited in the resort lobby while vendors packed up unpaid equipment. Stephanie's parents had left in a black sedan without speaking to anyone. Hello, Bradley. How was your wedding? You destroyed my life. His voice carried down the hallway. I could see nurses pausing at their stations, looking toward my room with concern. I destroyed your credit cards. You destroyed your own life. That's the same thing. Do you have any idea what you've done? Dr. Mitchell appeared in the doorway behind him. Sir, you need to lower your voice. This is an intensive care unit. Bradley spun around. My father just ruined my wedding. My fiancé's parents think I'm some kind of fraud. Her father is a federal judge, and now he's convinced our family has financial problems. Sir, please step into the hallway. No! I'm talking to him. Bradley pointed at me like I was a criminal defendant. Dad, you're going to fix this right now. You're going to call the bank, restore the credit cards, and wire money to cover everything we lost today. I set down my phone and looked at him calmly. Or what? Or I'll contest your mental capacity. I'll tell everyone you made financial decisions while medicated and confused. I'll tie up your assets in court for years. Dr. Mitchell stepped fully into the room. Mr. Thompson, your father has been mentally sharp since he regained consciousness. There's no medical basis for capacity concerns. Then I'll find another doctor who disagrees. The room went silent. Even the monitors seemed quieter. Bradley, I said softly, you just threatened to lie about my mental health to steal my money. I'm not stealing anything. It's my inheritance. Inheritance is something you receive after someone dies. I'm very much alive. But you almost died. And when that happens, normal people think about their families. I did think about my family. That's exactly what I did. Maria Santos appeared in the doorway, carrying a fresh thermos of soup. She took one look at Bradley's aggressive posture and doctor. Mitchell's concerned expression, then stepped protectively closer to my bed. Is everything okay, Mr. David? Bradley turned toward her with visible irritation. This is a private family conversation. Maria's eyes flashed. I have been here every day for 6 days. Where have you been? That's none of your business. Your father almost died. That makes it my business. Tommy Anderson rounded the corner, laptop bag over his shoulder for his usual evening visit. He assessed the situation quickly, Bradley, in a tuxedo, shouting in an ICU while Maria stood protectively beside my bed. Problem? Tommy asked quietly. No problem, I said. Bradley was just leaving. I'm not going anywhere until you fix what you did. Dr. Mitchell pulled out her phone. I'm calling security. Security? He's the one who stole my money. I didn't steal anything, I said. I just stopped giving it to you. That's the same thing. No, Bradley. Stealing is taking something that belongs to someone else. This money belongs to me. I earned it. You didn't. Patricia Williams appeared in the doorway, having heard the commotion from the elevator. She took in the scene. Bradley disheveled and shouting, 3 employees protectively surrounding my bed. Doctor. Mitchell on the phone with security. David, is everything all right? Patricia, meet my son Bradley. Bradley, meet the woman who's been running our company while you've been planning parties. Bradley's face darkened. These people work for us. They don't belong in family discussions. Wrong, I said. These people work with me. You don't work at all. Security arrived to 2 officers who approached Bradley with professional calm. Sir, we need you to lower your voice or leave the premises. This is my father. I have every right to be here. You have the right to visit quietly. You don't have the right to disturb other patients. Bradley looked around the room at the security officers, at Doctor, Mitchell's disapproving expression, at Maria, Tommy, and Patricia, standing united beside my bed, like a chosen family. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is, I replied. He left without another word, his expensive shoes clicking angrily down the hospital corridor. After the door closed, Maria squeezed my hand gently. Mister. David, that boy has no respect. No, I agreed, but he's about to learn what respect costs. By Saturday morning, Bradley had declared war on my reputation. It started with a LinkedIn post at 6:43 a.m. I was still in the hospital, scrolling through weekend emails, when Patricia forwarded me the link with a message. You need to see this immediately. Bradley's post was titled, When Family Illness Reveals Financial Elder Abuse. It was professionally written, probably by Stephanie or her lawyer father, designed to sound concerned rather than vindictive. Yesterday should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, I discovered that my hospitalized father has been making erratic financial decisions while under medical sedation. His sudden cancellation of family credit accounts, without warning or explanation, stranded 200 wedding guests and caused tremendous embarrassment to both families involved. I'm sharing this publicly because I believe my father may be suffering from medication-induced confusion or possible manipulation by employees who have gained inappropriate access to his accounts during his vulnerable state. If you've experienced similar situations with elderly family members, please share your advice. Within 2 hours, the post had 43 comments. I read through them with growing amazement. Rebecca Martinez, CEO of Martinez Consulting. David Thompson built his company from nothing and has been mentally sharp every time I've worked with him. This sounds like a son upset about losing access to daddy's money. Stephen Park, CTO at TechFlow. I've known David for 8 years. If he cut off his son's credit cards, there was probably a damn good reason. Angela Foster, HR Director at Startup, works. Wasn't Bradley posting party photos all week while his dad was in ICU? I saw the Instagram stories. Didn't look too worried about family illness then. The tech community was small in Silicon Valley. People talked. And apparently they'd been watching Bradley's social media performance during my hospitalization with growing disgust. Comment after comment supported me. David Thompson paid for my daughter's cancer treatment when our insurance failed. He's the most generous man I know. I worked with David's company last year. His employees worship him because he actually cares about people. This sounds like a privileged kid mad that the trust fund got cut off. Bradley Thompson has never worked a real job in his life. Maybe it's time he learned. By noon, Bradley's strategy had completely backfired. His post had 127 comments, and roughly 90% were criticizing him, not supporting him. But he wasn't finished. Saturday afternoon brought a different approach. Gossip warfare through Stephanie's social networks, the country club circuit, charity board connections, high society whisper campaigns. Maria Santos's daughter, Carmen, worked part-time at a Palo Alto coffee shop frequented by the Richardson family's friends. She called me Saturday evening with intelligence. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Richardson was here today with 3 other ladies. They were talking loud, like they wanted people to hear. What did they say? She told them you're suffering from traumatic brain injury complications, and that your employees are taking advantage of an impaired elderly man. She said her husband might have to intervene legally to protect you from financial exploitation, a federal judge threatening legal intervention based on completely fabricated medical claims. Bradley and his fiancée were escalating beyond family disputes into potential defamation territory. Sunday morning brought the nuclear option, a local business journal article. Tech founders' family disputes raised questions about succession planning appeared in the Silicon Valley Business Review. The piece was supposedly about estate planning in family businesses, but it featured an anonymous quote that was obviously from Bradley. When aging entrepreneurs refuse to plan for medical emergencies, their employees can gain inappropriate influence over business decisions. In some cases, loyal workers may take advantage of illness-related vulnerability to secure personal financial benefits that weren't part of the original business structure. The article implied, without naming names, that I was being manipulated by scheming employees while mentally compromised. Within hours, my phone was buzzing with calls from business associates who'd recognized the situation despite the anonymity. David, is this article about you? David, are you being taken advantage of? David, do you need legal help? But the most important call came from someone unexpected. James Chen, editor of the Silicon Valley Business Review. David, I need to apologize. We published that article Friday morning based on what seemed like a legitimate family concern about elder financial abuse. But over the weekend, I've received dozens of calls from people in the business community defending you and providing context we didn't have. What kind of context? Everything. Your son's wedding behavior, his social media posts, his complete absence from the hospital, your employees' loyalty and dedication, the fact that you've been mentally sharp throughout your recovery. And we're publishing a correction tomorrow, a full retraction, plus interviews with 5 business leaders who can speak to your character and mental capacity. Your son's anonymous quotes made us look like we were spreading gossip rather than reporting news. James, I appreciate that, but it's not necessary. It is necessary. Your employees have been calling our office all weekend, offering to provide documented evidence of your mental clarity and their legitimate roles in your business. Patricia Williams sent us financial reports showing company growth over 19 years. Tommy Anderson sent us innovation patents with your name as primary inventor. Maria Santos sent us testimonial letters from clients whose families you've helped during emergencies. Monday morning's correction piece was titled Silicon Valley Rallies Around Respected Tech Founder. It featured quotes from 12 business leaders, financial documentation of my company's ethical practices, and a timeline showing my documented mental capacity throughout the entire hospital stay. The war Bradley had started with social media manipulation had been won by people who actually knew my character. But I wasn't done showing him the power of earned loyalty versus inherited expectations. Monday morning brought clarity. I was being discharged from Stanford Medical that afternoon, but first I needed to build an ironclad case for the confrontation ahead. Patricia arrived at 8 a.m. with her laptop and an accordion folder thick with documents. David, I've spent the weekend compiling everything you asked for. She spread papers across my hospital bed like a prosecutor preparing closing arguments. Financial contributions analysis first, she said, opening a detailed spreadsheet. Bradley's total cost to the company over the past 5 years, $467,000. His total revenue contribution, $0. The numbers were devastating in their precision. Education expenses, Harvard MBA, $160,000, living allowances, $12,000 monthly for 36 months, totaling $432,000, car payments, Tesla Model S, $67,000, condo down payment, $80,000, wedding expenses already covered before last week, $147,000, total family investment in Bradley, $866,000, return on investment, negative $866,000. Now contrast that with Maria, Tommy, and myself, Patricia continued. Maria Santos, hired at $28,000 annually in 2008. Current salary, $55,000. But her theft prevention over 15 years had saved the company $89,000. Her facility management efficiency had reduced overhead costs by approximately $31,000 annually. Total value added over $550,000. Tommy Anderson, hired at $65,000 in 2011. Current salary, $110,000. His algorithm innovations had increased platform efficiency by 47%, generating approximately $1.2 million in additional revenue. His patents alone were valued at $300,000. Total value added over $1.5 million. Patricia Williams started at $38,000 in 2004. Current salary, $120,000. Her financial management had guided the company from $200,000 to $4.6 million in annual revenue. Conservative attribution of her contributions, $2 million in value creation. The mathematics are simple, Patricia said. We've generated over $4 million in documented value. Bradley has consumed nearly $900,000 in resources while contributing nothing measurable. But numbers were just the foundation. I needed documentation of character. Tommy arrived at 9 a.m. with his laptop bag and something unexpected, a leather journal I'd never seen before. David, I hope this isn't too weird, but I've been keeping a record of conversations we've had over the years. Technical discussions, but also personal stuff. I thought you might want to see it. The journal contained 12 years of detailed notes. Not just coding discussions, but every piece of advice I'd given him, every personal story I'd shared about building the business, every time I'd helped him navigate social situations at work. November 2019, David explained how he mortgaged his house to cover payroll during the 2018 recession, said keeping employees paid was more important than personal security. March 2021, David spent 3 hours helping me practice for job interviews at Google, even though he knew I might leave. Said good people deserved opportunities, even if it hurt him personally. August 2022. David paid for my mother's emergency dental surgery when her insurance was denied, $4,000. Told me family emergencies were what emergency funds were for. Page after page of documented generosity, mentorship, and sacrifice that Bradley had never known about because he'd never been interested enough to ask. Maria arrived at 10 a.m. with her own evidence, photographs. Mr. David, I hope this is okay. I take pictures sometimes. She showed me dozens of photos on her phone from company events over the years, holiday parties, retirement celebrations, casual Friday lunches. In every single photo, I was engaged with employees laughing, listening, participating in their lives. Bradley appeared in exactly 3 photos from 15 years of company events. In all 3, he was checking his phone. Mrs. Patricia, show him the email, Maria said quietly. Patricia pulled up her laptop. David, this arrived Sunday night. I wasn't sure whether to show you. It was an email from Bradley to her, Tommy, and Maria, sent at 11:47 p.m. Subject, urgent family matter. Patricia, Tommy, Maria, I need you to understand that my father is not thinking clearly due to his medical condition. The financial decisions he's making are harmful to everyone, including all of you. If you continue supporting his current course of action, you'll all lose your jobs when I take control of the company. However, if you help me demonstrate that he's not mentally competent to make business decisions, I can guarantee your positions will be secure under my leadership. I'm offering each of you a 20% salary increase and additional vacation time in exchange for written statements about my father's confused behavior during his hospital stay. This is a limited time offer. I need responses by Tuesday. Bradley Thompson. Future CEO. I stared at the email for a full minute. He tried to bribe you. Yes, Patricia said. All 3 of us. 20% salary increases to betray you. And your responses? Tommy pulled out his phone and read, Bradley, I've worked with your father for 12 years. The only confused behavior I've witnessed this week was your absence from his bedside. Thanks, but no thanks. Maria showed me her text message. Mr. Bradley, your father gave me a chance when no one else would. I will never say bad things about him for money. That is not who I am. Patricia's response was the most elegant. Mr. Thompson, I've spent 19 years watching your father build a company based on integrity. I won't destroy that legacy for a salary increase I haven't earned. He offered bribes, I said slowly, to fabricate evidence of mental incompetence. Attempted witness tampering, Patricia confirmed. I forwarded the emails to James Wilson. He says it strengthens our position significantly. At 11 a.m., Doctor. Mitchell arrived with my discharge papers and one final piece of documentation, a comprehensive cognitive assessment report. David, I ordered this not because I doubted your capacity, but because I suspected your family might challenge it legally. Your scores are in the 97th percentile for your age group. Memory, reasoning, decision-making, all completely normal. Thank you, Sarah. There's more. I've documented every conversation we've had since you regained consciousness. Timestamps, witnesses, specific examples of clear thinking. If anyone questions your mental state during this period, I have 47 pages of medical evidence proving otherwise. By noon, the evidence was overwhelming. Financial contributions, character documentation, witness testimonials, attempted bribery, and medical certification of mental capacity. Bradley had wanted a war based on lies and manipulation. Instead, he was about to face a trial based on truth and mathematics. The confrontation was scheduled for Tuesday, June 11th, 10 a.m., in Conference Room B at our company headquarters. I'd been discharged from the hospital Monday evening, and my first executive decision was calling this meeting. All-hands meeting, I'd told Patricia. Every employee, plus legal representation, plus some special guests. Bradley didn't know it was happening until he received the formal invitation Monday night, Thomson Technologies company meeting, attendance required, regarding succession planning and ownership structure. He probably thought he was finally getting the inheritance discussion he'd been demanding. Tuesday morning, I arrived at 9:45 a.m. to find Conference Room B packed beyond capacity. All 47 employees were present, plus James Wilson, my attorney, doctor, Mitchell as a medical witness, and 3 unexpected additions, Rebecca Martinez and Stephen Park from the business community, and James Chen from the Silicon Valley Business Review. "David," Patricia whispered as I entered, "we had to move it to the main conference room. Too many people wanted to witness this." I walked to the head of the table where a microphone had been set up. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for coming. Before we begin, I need to acknowledge something. 6 days ago, I almost died in a car accident. During those 6 days, some of you spent more time caring about my recovery than my own son did. Today, we're going to discuss what family actually means and what it costs when you take loyalty for granted." At exactly 10 a.m., Bradley arrived with Stephanie and a man in an expensive suit who introduced himself as Martin Richardson, federal judge and father of the bride whose wedding had been canceled. "Dad," Bradley said, looking around the packed room nervously, "this seems like overkill for a family discussion." "Sit down, Bradley." The 3 of them took seats across from me. I could see Bradley's confusion turning to concern as he realized this wasn't a private negotiation. "Let's start with basic facts," I said, picking up Patricia's financial analysis. "Patricia, please read the numbers." Patricia stood and addressed the room like she was presenting quarterly results. Bradley Thompson's total cost to Thomson Technologies over 5 years, $866,000. His revenue contribution, $0. Murmurs rippled through the room. Several employees exchanged glances. Compare that to 3 employees who visited me daily during my hospitalization. Maria Santos, 15 years of service, $550,000 in documented value creation. Tommy Anderson, 12 years of service, $1.5 million in value creation. Patricia Williams, 19 years of service, over $2 million in value creation. Bradley's face was reddening. "This is humiliating." "Yes, it is," I agreed. "Tommy, please share what you brought." Tommy stood up, nervous but determined. "I've documented 12 years of conversations with David. Times he mentored me, helped me grow professionally, supported my family during emergencies. He paid for my mother's medical bills without being asked. He's never once asked for anything in return except honest work." "Thank you, Tommy." Maria stood slowly, her accented English clear and strong. "Mr. David gave me a chance when I spoke no English. He paid for my citizenship classes. He helped my daughters get scholarships. When my husband was deported, Mr. David helped me keep my family together." She paused, looking directly at Bradley. "Last week, when he was dying, I was there every day." "Where were you?" The room was dead silent. Judge Richardson leaned forward. "Mr. Thompson, with respect, this seems like an unusual way to conduct family business. Judge Richardson, let me ask you something. If your son ignored you while you were dying, then demanded immediate access to your assets for wedding expenses, would you consider that normal family business?" "I would consider that concerning, yes." "Dr. Mitchell, please share your medical assessment." Dr. Mitchell stood and addressed the room with clinical precision. "David Thompson has been mentally sharp throughout his entire hospitalization and recovery. I've documented every conversation. His cognitive assessment scores are in the 97th percentile. Any claims of mental impairment are medically baseless. Thank you. Now, James, please read the email Bradley sent Sunday night. James Wilson stood and read Bradley's bribery attempt in its entirety. The room's energy shifted palpably as employees heard Bradley offering salary increases for false testimony about my mental state. That's witness tampering, Judge Richardson said quietly. It gets worse, I continued. Bradley, would you like to explain to everyone why you never visited me in the hospital? Bradley looked around the room at 47 employees, his ex-fiancée, her federal judge father, 2 business leaders, and a reporter. His voice was small. Hospitals make me anxious. But bachelor parties don't? That's different. How? It just is. I pulled out my phone and opened his Instagram account. May I share what you were posting while I was unconscious? Dad, please. Tuesday, 4 p.m. Wine country vibes with the boys. Posted while I was intubated. Wednesday, 8 a.m. Groomsmen bonding. Posted while Patricia was bringing me coffee. Thursday, 2 p.m. Final fitting perfection. Posted while Maria was praying for my recovery. The room was absolutely silent. Friday, 11:30 a.m. New beginnings, finally free. Posted 18 hours into my coma. Several employees were shaking their heads in disgust. Bradley, I said, do you remember what you asked me during our phone call Thursday? Dad, you asked how quickly you could access my money if I died. You asked about timing issues with estate processing while I was lying unconscious. Stephanie made a small sound of shock. Judge Richardson was staring at his almost son-in-law with visible contempt. But here's what I learned in that hospital room, I continued. Real family isn't about DNA. It's about showing up when it matters. Patricia showed up, Maria showed up, Tommy showed up. You didn't. I stood and walked to the flip chart Patricia had prepared. So I've made some changes. Patricia, Maria, and Tommy now own 49% of this company. The remaining 51% goes into an employee profit-sharing trust. Gasps echoed through the room. My house goes to Patricia, who's earned security after 19 years of loyalty. My investment portfolio is split between Maria and Tommy. My life insurance establishes a scholarship fund for immigrants and single mothers. Bradley was staring at me in horror. What about me? You get $50,000, exactly what you've contributed to this company. $50,000? Dad, this company is worth $4.2 million. Yes, it is. Worth $4.2 million because of the people in this room who built it. Not because of someone who inherited the right to own it. Stephanie was crying quietly. Judge Richardson put his arm around her shoulders. Bradley, I said, you spent 6 days proving you don't care about family when it's inconvenient. Now you're learning what that choice costs. This is insane. You can't just give away my inheritance. It was never your inheritance. It was my life's work. Inheritance is something you earn through character and loyalty. You've demonstrated neither. Rebecca Martinez spoke up from the back of the room. David, I think you've made the right choice. These people have earned what you're giving them. Stephen Park nodded. Bradley, you might want to consider learning some basic human decency before expecting financial rewards. Bradley looked around the room desperately. 47 employees staring at him with disapproval. Business leaders supporting my decision. A reporter taking notes. His ex-fiancée crying with embarrassment. Her father, a federal judge, watching his character dissolve in real time. This isn't over, Bradley said finally. Yes, it is, I replied. James, please explain why. James Wilson opened his briefcase. The will changes are legally binding and irrevocable. Mr. Bradley Thompson can contest them, but he'd need to prove mental incapacity, which contradicts all medical evidence, or undue influence, which contradicts witness testimony from 47 employees who can attest to your independent decision-making. Furthermore, James continued, his attempted witness tampering undermines any claims of good faith. If he pursues legal action, we'll file countersuits for defamation, harassment, and attempted fraud. Bradley stared at the table. $50,000? $50,000, I confirmed. Enough for a fresh start if you're willing to earn something for once in your life. He stood up abruptly. I never want to see you again. Bradley, I said quietly, if you ever learn what loyalty and respect actually mean, my door will be open. But you'll have to earn your way back, just like everyone else." He walked out without another word. Stephanie followed, still crying. Judge Richardson paused at the door. "Mr. Thompson, for what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. I wouldn't want my daughter married to someone with his character either." After they left, the room erupted in applause. Patricia was crying. Maria was hugging Tommy. Employees were shaking my hand, thanking me, expressing amazement at what had just happened. "Now," I said, "let's get back to work. We have a company to run." 6 months later, Thomson Technologies had never been stronger. Patricia Williams, now Chief Executive Officer, had restructured our operations with surgical precision. Employee-owned businesses, it turned out, were remarkably efficient when everyone had skin in the game. Revenue was up 23%. Client satisfaction had reached all-time highs, and our employee retention rate was 100%. Nobody wanted to leave a company they actually owned. Maria Santos, promoted to Chief Operations Officer, had transformed our workplace culture. The woman who'd cleaned our offices for 15 years now managed facilities, human resources, and community outreach. Her first initiative was a scholarship program for children of immigrant families, funded by company profits we'd never had before. Tommy Anderson had started our innovation lab, 3 patents pending, 2 already licensed to major tech companies. His awkward genius had found its perfect outlet, building the future while surrounded by people who respected his contributions. The house in Palo Alto suited Patricia perfectly. She'd invited Maria and Tommy for Sunday dinners, creating the kind of family gatherings I'd always imagined but never experienced. Sometimes they'd send me photos, 3 people who'd earned their success sharing meals in a home that finally felt like it was owned by someone who appreciated it. As for Bradley, I'd heard fragments of his story through mutual acquaintances. He'd moved to Portland, Oregon, where nobody knew about his canceled wedding or his inheritance disaster. Last I heard, he was working at an entry-level marketing job, earning $38,000 a year, coincidentally, the same salary Patricia had started with 19 years ago. Stephanie had broken their engagement 3 weeks after the conference room confrontation. According to Judge Richardson, who'd called to apologize for his almost son-in-law's behavior, she'd realized she couldn't marry someone whose character collapsed under pressure. My own life had simplified beautifully. A small apartment near the office, close enough to walk to work every morning. No mansion to maintain, no extensive investment portfolio to manage, no complex estate planning to worry about. But the most satisfying change was my calendar. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m., I had coffee with Patricia, Maria, and Tommy in the same conference room where we'd held our showdown. We called it family meeting, and finally the word meant exactly what it should. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. I'd learned the difference at exactly the right time.